Good morning, students. Today, let's take a look at the exercise of jumbled sentences. We have already done jumbled up words or rearranging of jumbled up words into sentences using our knowledge of word order. We have already also done paragraph editing, where we are given sentences, paragraphs which have faulty sentences, and we need to identify the errors and rearrange them into proper sentences. But now we are discussing the next task of rearranging a set of jumbled sentences into a proper, coherent, logical paragraph. So you'll be given a set of sentences in a random order. You do not need to do paragraph editing here. What you have to do is to rearrange that into the set of jumbled sentences into a proper paragraph. This is a very important exercise, where you are getting tested not just on your verbal ability, that is of course there, but you also need to use your reasoning. So both the verbal ability and the logical ability both are being tested in this. I can tell you that this is a very important component of exams, especially at the international level. IELTS exams, for example, have this as a major component in their reading skill or reading uh, reading component. This is, rearrangement of jumbled up sentences is an important exercise. So let's begin with a sample passage. Let me present it for you now. Yeah, so this is on jumbled sentences. Right. So you may be given a set like this, where you are here. Of course, I have put the letters beside them, but otherwise they would not be. It would just be in random order. So you are expected to restructure these sentences or rearrange these sentences to form a logical sequence and to construct a coherent paragraph. That is, a paragraph that makes sense. That is what is meant by coherent. So when the first thing that you do when you get such a set should be to read the sentences. Do not start doing the rearrangement from the word go. You need to read the entire set fully and then locate the central idea, the theme. Every set, every paragraph will be about something. There will be a theme. It could be a person, it could be a place, it could be a thing, it could be an abstract thing, a quality, or it may be an idea, a thought, whatever it is. There is always that central idea. You need to read the sentences and to locate that central idea. Ideally, you should ask yourself, if I were given such a topic, how would I write a paragraph? You will naturally find in the given sentences a sentence which you yourself would normally choose as the first sentence for such a paragraph, because we are introducing a topic. So that person, place, or thing, that central idea will in all probability be mentioned, in the form of a proper noun in that first sentence itself. The remaining sentences will be linked to that sentence in various ways. It could be an illustration, it could be an explanation, it could be an argument, whatever, it is related. That first sentence is very crucial. So let's do this passage. Let's read the sentences. Whatever the reasons may be, the effects are disastrous, leading to both physical and mental ailments like insomnia, hypertension, and nervous breakdown. You could, go about underlining some of the linking words and phrases as you read the passage. So whatever the reasons, underline that, and you know that it naturally cannot be the first sentence. It comes after a few things have been listed. Anyway, keep that in mind and underline such phrases, linking words, transition words, and so on, as you read. According to psychologists, it is a result of fear due to inexperience, deprivation, isolation, and feeling of inferiority among them. Pronouns like it, them, underline those, because it indicates that something and somebody has already been mentioned. It is a matter of grave concern that stress or mental pressure has emerged as a deadly and silent killer for teenagers of the day. You have plenty of proper nouns there: stress, mental pressure, teenagers. It is a matter of grave concern. That looks like a proper introductory sentence. And then you have these proper nouns like mental pressure, stress, and so on. In order to prevent these catastrophic diseases, children need to be taught to de-stress themselves. So, in order to read that sentence fully, in order to underline that, that is a very, very specific linking phrase. You know that you cannot have that as the first sentence of a paragraph. If they are observed closely, all these owes to undue pressure. If they, these are again pronouns which you can underline to indicate to yourself that they should ideally, this sentence should ideally come after a sentence where something that this they or these refer to have been mentioned. Okay, so once you have read the sentence, you realize that this is all about stress or mental pressure, and you have located that sentence where it is very clearly mentioned. So C should ideally be the first sentence of this paragraph. It is a matter of grave concern that stress or mental pressure has emerged as a deadly and silent killer for teenagers of the day. What should be the next sentence? It cannot be whatever the reasons, because the reasons have not been mentioned here, whereas there are other sentences where reasons are mentioned. So ideally, A can only follow though that sentence where reasons have been mentioned. What about the next one? According to psychologists, it is the result of your it. Does it relate to something here? Yes, because stress or mental pressure, it is the same, one and the same. So it could relate to this. What about the sentence D? In order to prevent these catastrophic diseases, these, you do not have many things mentioned there. It is the one, stress or mental pressure. What about the last one? If they are observed closely. Again, they refers to many things. So ideally, B should be the next sentence. It is a matter of grave concern that stress or mental pressure has emerged as a deadly and silent killer for teenagers of the day. According to psychologists, it is a result of fear due to inexperience, deprivation, isolation, and feeling of inferiority among them. And then you have that sentence: if they are observed closely, if these symptoms are observed closely, all these problems, inexperience, deprivation, isolation, inferiority complex, all these are because of undue pressure on their mind due to unhealthy competitions and skyrocketing expectations of parents and teachers. So the reasons have been identified there. And then naturally, that sentence which refers to whatever the reasons. So C, B, E, then A, whatever the reasons. And finally, you have that sentence which is a kind of conclusion, because it offers a remedy, a solution. What is that? The sentence D. In order to prevent these catastrophic diseases, children need to be taught to de-stress themselves through meditation or cultural activities, and this will inculcate feelings of self-confidence in them and inspire them to face the realities of life in a better way. So that is how you would conclude the paragraph. So this is how you go about the task. Read the sentences fully, identify the theme, and then look for the linking words. I've put up these steps in the next slide. Make a thorough reading of all the sentences to understand the meaning that is hidden within the lines, and identify the theme of the passage. What is this passage telling you about? Then look for the logical sequence. Look for the linking words, the transition words, and ask yourself where you would place the sentence which mentions the theme as a proper noun. In all probability, it would be placed at the very beginning. It would be the first sentence. But there are certain instances where you would probably be given a kind of explanation, and then in a dramatic manner, at the very end, that name or thing would be mention. That's another possibility, but mostly always it is in the other way that we write a paragraph. So let's see these two options. Yeah, you identify the theme. Generally, there is a central point, idea, thought, or probably a personality about whom that paragraph is written. Locate that, and then the you can guess and assume and reason that in all probability the first or the last sentence would mention those. Yeah, so place the idea at the beginning or at the end. In the first method, you have, when you have placed that in the first part, the sentences that follow it will give a kind of logical description or details of that topic, and then elaborate with examples, give further explanation, and so on. Whereas in the second method, some facts are given initially, and then it is in the last part of the paragraph that you would have that object or thing mentioned. Either way, ask yourself in what way the sentences are structured. Yeah, so this is an important point. Sentences which contain the proper nouns, like the names of the persons, places, buildings, abstract qualities, etc. These would most probably always come in the first part of the paragraph. India is one of the largest countries. India would naturally be mentioned in the first sentence. It is also extremely populated. It, refers to India. So you can't begin the paragraph with it. The first paragraph would have the proper noun. Similarly, Mahatma Gandhi is the father of the nation. Mahatma Gandhi has been mentioned there. Then, naturally, that should be the first part of the paragraph. So look for these proper nouns, names of persons, names of places, buildings, even things like, beauty, goodness, peace, etc. All these would normally come in the first paragraph. In the remaining paragraphs, you would have pronouns which refer to those objects or places or persons, like pronouns like he, him, his, her, they, and so on. This, it, these, those. All of these indicate that the person or the thing or the quality or the idea or the ideas or the persons have already been mentioned. So that is one way to logically place the sentences in the right order. Then look for transition or linking words. Very often you would have words, sentences that begin with in the first place, firstly, secondly, thirdly, and so on. Such a word will naturally help you to identify the place where that sentence should be placed. You could have originally, that could be a good linking word for an early sentence, whereas a sentence that begins with words like eventually, finally, hence, and so on would be at the end. That is a kind of conclusion, therefore, and so on. Sometimes you would have a sentence, a linking word like in the preceding paragraph or in the preceding sentences, in the ensuing, in the following sentences, and so on. That again helps you to look to place that sentence in the position before or after that thing has been, whatever it refers to, would be mentioned. Now, sometimes paragraphs would be structured in the form of an argument. You would have two sides of an argument. In that case, words like however, nevertheless, but, and so on would be very strategic. And they would be not at the very beginning, not at the very end, but somewhere in the end. So then, once you have that word like however, nevertheless, etc., you know that there would be some kind of an argument in the paragraph, and that you need to place the sentences on either side of however. All those sentences arguing for this side on one side, or arguing for one aspect on one side of however, all the counter arguments, all those sentences which contain the opposite view should be placed on either side of however. So try to sort out the sentences that come in on both sides of the linking word in the argument. Yeah, so let's do a sample exercise with this passage. So what do you do when you get this kind of a passage? Read it fully. And as you read, with a pencil, you could mark certain keywords, linking words, keywords, and so on, which will help you to locate the theme, locate the linking words, and then easily identify the logical sequence. The story finished by claiming that it should be banned. The story. It. The story refers to a story that has already been mentioned. It is also a pronoun which means that something has been mentioned. So underline that, the story, it. Prolonged exposure to its solid form. Its. Underline that. Causes severe tissue damage. Here is a funny chemistry story. Here is chemistry. Here is, in all probability, is, a very introductory, an ideal phrase to begin a story, an introductory sentence. Here is, underline that. Chemistry, again, a proper noun has been mentioned there. Underline chemistry. The deaths that were being quoted were from drowning in water. The deaths that were being quoted, again, indicates that something has been quoted. The deaths, again, refers to deaths that have already been mentioned. Most of the deaths, again, most of the deaths, indicating that it can't be the first sentence. Most of the deaths are caused by accidental inhalation of DHMO, but the dangers do not end there, indicating that there are more things that can be mentioned after that. Underline do not end there, and underline DHMO as well. No matter what you do, you will be exposed to this very dangerous chemical every day of your life until you die. Something very dramatic. It looks like a good sentence towards the end of a paragraph. Anyway, no matter what you do. Again, that's an important linking phrase, which indicates that it comes somewhere after a few things have been mentioned. So no matter this, again. Finally, a local journalist got hold of the joke. Finally, again, underline that. The story also went on that even if you wash your food, you can never get this chemical off. This chemical also is important there, because also indicates that some things have been mentioned. Somebody wrote a paper about how dihydrogen monoxide, a colorless, odorless, tasteless chemical, kills thousands of people every year. A paper. Dihydrogen monoxide. Names, proper nouns. For those who have become dependent, DHMO withdrawal means certain death. For those, again, can't be the first sentence. So once you have read the sentences, you realize that there is something about a chemical mentioned in this, but that it is also a kind of story. Probably it's an anecdote, because you have come across a word like joke there. So joke is important, story is important. In any case, when you look for a first sentence, let us try to choose this as the first sentence. Here is a funny chemistry story, for reasons like here is being a good introductory phrase and chemistry being a proper noun. In all probability, this may be the first sentence. So try to begin with that. Here is a funny chemistry story. When you say here is, naturally the next sentence should tell you about that story. So which one of these sentences would fall in that category? Somebody wrote a paper about how dihydrogen monoxide, that is the sentence where the chemical, which is mentioned in many other sentences, but which is named here. So somebody wrote a paper about how dihydrogen monoxide, a colorless, odorless, tasteless chemical, kills thousands of people every year. And then, since the death has been introduced there, which other sentence? There are 2 or 3 sentences which contain references to death. Which sentence should follow immediately? It should come immediately after this. There are the deaths that were being quoted. Most of the deaths are caused by accidental inhalation of a DHMO, but the dangers do not end there. And then for those who have become dependent, DHMO withdrawal means certain death. Which one of these sentences looks like the next sentence for this one? For it kills thousands of people every year. The deaths that were being quoted, most of the deaths are, most of the deaths are caused by accidental inhalation of DHMO, because the deaths that were being quoted, that is a kind of final statement, whereas most of the deaths refers to, you're talking about, it's not a final sentence. So most of the deaths has priority over the deaths that were being quoted as the earlier sentence. So try to place it as the Third sentence, most of the deaths are caused by accidental inhalation of DHMO, but the dangers do not end there. Then you list the other dangers. For those who have become dependent, DHMO withdrawal means certain death. Prolonged exposure to its solid form causes severe tissue damage. Two have already been mentioned. Then you can say the story also went on. It refers to the third sentence. Third went on that even if you wash your food, you can never get this chemical off. Then what else? Uh, yeah, no matter what you do, that is like the last part of that paper. Somebody has written a paper. No matter what you do, you will be exposed to this very dangerous chemical every day of your life until you die. It looks like a proper dramatic conclusion to that paper. And then the story finished by claiming that it should be banned. So that story part is over. And then comes the twist. What happens? And then somebody got hold of the joke. What is the joke? The fact that DHMO is nothing but dihydrogen monoxide, which is H2O, our own water. Water that we are all so familiar with. The ordinary water is, in its chemical formula, dihydrogen monoxide, H2O. So when you write about it in this manner, it does, make sense, or it prolonged exposure to its tissue form, to its solid form, causes severe tissue damage. What does that mean? When you're exposed to ice, frozen in the solid form, water, frozen ice, naturally your skin will be damaged. Then what else? The accidental inhalation of DHMO. When you inhale water, naturally when your lungs are full of water, you cannot breathe and then you will die. But for those who have become dependent, the moment water is withdrawn, death is certain. Even if you wash your food, you can never get this chemical off. It will always be there as an essential ingredient of everything that you wash with water, naturally. So somebody got hold of the joke, and then what else? The deaths were being quoted were from drowning in water. This is how the passage would be rewritten. Just see whether you have got it in this form. This is naturally the logical sequence. Actually, this is not just an anecdote or a joke. This really happened. This happened in New Zealand. I think there was a person who wanted a politician to kind of make the politician look ridiculous. And what he did is he wrote a paper and then published it, or he sent it to the politician saying that here is a very important paper about this dangerous chemical, and we need to ban it. And this politician, who had no clue about chemistry or the formula of water, it is said, he thought that he would make a powerful impact in the parliament by flashing the story, and that is exactly what he did. And only then did he realize that the joke was on him. When the other parliamentarians, his fellow parliamentarians, began laughing aloud, he realized that it was the joke was on him. Okay, so that is how you would rearrange the sentence. Read it. Now I'll give you another passage or another set of jumbled sentences, and what you need to do is rearrange it into a proper paragraph. So this is your assignment. Please go through the sentences, read them fully, identify the central idea, look for the linking words and phrases, and rearrange the sentences to get a logical, coherent paragraph. This is the assignment. Okay, right. So we'll wind up there. If you have any doubt, please feel free to get them cleared anytime you want. As an exercise that tests both your verbal and your logical ability, this has great significance, not just for your exams, but in every situation in life. This is something that makes perfect sense. Apart from these, you have other a lot of exercises in your textbook. Find the time to do those exercises too. Okay, so I'll stop the recording now.